Is Stranger Things 85 worth your time? Or is it just a cheap cash grab made to keep printing money off Stranger Things? That's the big question I had going into this, and I'm just going to say it right away. It does feel unnecessary. It really does feel like something that exists because the name Stranger Things is big, and they know that most people will click on it, even those who kind of fell out of love with the original show. But it surprised me, though. I still had a really good time watching it. Now, going in, I honestly was expecting this to feel like a watered down version of the show, something that just copies what worked before, but without any of the heart. And at first, it does kind of feel like that. Like, you can see the familiar setup right away. Kids in a small town, something weird going on, adults who don't understand, and the one person who kind of knows more than everyone else. It's very clearly the same formula, but that's actually the point. What the show does really well is it goes back to what made the early seasons of the original Stranger Things so fun in the first place. Instead of trying to be this bigger story and trying to outdo the previous season like the original show did, they keep things smaller. It focuses on just a very simple story. Kids trying to figure out a mystery. And that classic 80s adventure feeling is back. It feels more like a group of friends on bikes dealing with something spooky in their town, instead of the huge world-ending story with a million characters. And that change is pretty refreshing. Another big difference is the tone. The show is clearly made for a younger audience. It's toned down compared to the later seasons of the main series. There's no sexual content, there's very little cursing. In fact, I don't even think I think there was only like crap was like the most intense cursing that there was, and that's pretty good. Like it's PG compared to the PG-13 show, so it's very much made for kids, but it's something like Goosebumps or Monster House where it's spooky but in a fun way. It's not super intense or dark. You can just kind of watch it during Halloween and just have a good time without feeling stressed out. And I think that actually helps the show stand out. Because instead of trying to compete with the main series, it becomes its own thing. But the biggest issue is canon. Because if you try to fit the show into the main story, it gets really messy. Like, there are these new characters like Nikki who feel important when you're watching, but then you realize that they're never mentioned in the original show, and there are events that feel like they should matter later, but they don't. And that creates this weird feeling where the show seems important, but then it kind of disappears when you actually stop to think about it. So, my advice is just don't treat this as canon. Just think of this as like an alternate universe or just this kind of what if adventure. It works way better. Like this extra story that happens in the same world but doesn't really affect the main timeline. Once you do that, a lot of the problems go away and it becomes much easier just to enjoy what's happening. Now, does the show repeat ideas from the original? Yeah. You can definitely see the familiar story beats. Like, there's the teacher who understands what's going on about the monsters idea again, just with a slightly different element. There are moments where you can't predict what's going to happen because you've seen it before, but it doesn't feel lazy. It just feels like the show is going back to a formula. Then I actually think the writing overall is better than what we got in seasons 3 through 5 of the main show, because those later seasons started to feel really crowded. Too many characters and plot lines, way too much going on at once. The show does not have that problem. It's more focused, it's easier to follow, the story is simple but in a good way, it doesn't feel messy or overstuffed, it just tells the story and keeps things moving. That doesn't mean it's perfect, though. There are definitely moments where it is a little predictable, and if you're looking for something new or groundbreaking, this probably isn't it. It's not trying to reinvent anything, it's just trying to capture the original feeling again. And for the most part, it succeeds. Is it necessary? No. Is it a cash grab? Yeah. But is it still worth your time? For me? Yeah. As long as you go in with the right expectations. Don't expect it to affect the main story in this big way. Don't expect it to fix everything about the later seasons. Just go looking for a fun, simple, slightly spooky adventure that feels like the classic first two seasons of Stranger Things. If you do that, there's a lot to enjoy here. For me, it almost made me forget about the problems with the later seasons of the main show. Almost. For me, it gets an A minus, a 9 out of 10, and a 4 out of 5 stars.